Hey everybody, welcome back to Veggie Time at Home. It's Miss Samantha, and this week we're going to be talking about recipes. So today I am going to show you a recipe that I really like, and we're just going to take a look at the different main parts of a recipe and why those things are important. Right, so the recipe that we're going to be taking a look at today is for a dish called shepherd's pie. It is basically a casserole dish that traditionally is made up of ground beef and vegetables that are cooked together and then are topped with mashed potatoes and baked in the oven. This particular recipe uses mushrooms and some other veggies instead of ground beef. So now that we know that we're talking about shepherd's pie, the first thing that we want to do when we're looking at the recipe is we want to know how long it's going to take to cook the recipe. So often after you've read the title of the recipe, the second or third thing that you'll see in the recipe is either the prep time or the cook time. In this situation, the recipe gives a preparation time and a baking time. So to make the shepherd's pie, it's going to take us 20 minutes to prepare our vegetables and our gravy and our mashed potatoes, and it's going to take 40 minutes to bake the whole pie, which is a total cook time of 60 minutes or an hour. So right underneath the prep and baking time, there's another bolded and very important aspect of the recipe, and that is the yield. Yield basically just means how much of the dish you can make with this recipe. So this says yield 6 servings. This basically tells you that if you make the shepherd's pie with these measurements for all the ingredients, you could feed 6 people or at least make 6 servings of the recipe. The next thing that we want to know when we're making our recipe, of course, is what we need to make it. So here we have our ingredients list, and it's quite long. For the shepherd's pie, we'll need 4 russet potatoes, 3 tablespoons of butter, a half teaspoon of onion powder, a half teaspoon of black pepper, 2 cups of gravy, 1 medium golden onion, sliced, a half cup of green beans, julienne sliced, a cup of zucchini or crookneck squash, diced, 1 large carrot, julienne sliced, 1 large parsnip diced, a half cup of peas, fresh or frozen, and a cup of mushrooms sliced. Now we know what our ingredients are and we know how we need to prepare them. There are 2 other things that we're gonna need to be able to make this dish. The first are your equipment or your materials that you need. Now, unfortunately, a lot of recipes don't explicitly list the materials you'll need, which is why it's so important that when you are going to cook a recipe, you read it all the way through at least 2 times. For this particular recipe, I'm reading through, right, it says preheat oven to 375, scrub and cube, do not peel the potatoes, cook in boiling water 20 minutes or until tender, drain and mash, adding butter, onion powder, and pepper, set aside, steam remaining vegetables for 5 minutes, place them in a 3-quart casserole dish, cover with gravy, mixing well, cover with mashed potatoes, and bake at 375 for 40 minutes or until golden brown. So those are the recipe instructions, which is the 5th main part. And from reading the instructions, which are quite short, just this little paragraph right here, we can deduce that we will need some bowls probably, we'll need an oven obviously, we'll probably need to use the sink to scrub our potatoes, we'll need a saucepan to boil the potatoes and steam the vegetables, and we'll also need a casserole dish, which they do explicitly mention. But there's often not necessarily a distinct list of materials, and so that's one of the main reasons that it's so important that we read our recipes all the way through. And I mentioned the actual instructions of the recipe that give you the step-by-step directions of what to do. Often this will also be called, so it's called instructions or directions. Occasionally it'll also be called the method. So those are the 5 main parts of the recipe. And something that I think is really cool about a lot of cookbooks that doesn't necessarily come with all recipes, but most recipes also have little extras. A lot of cookbooks will give you information about a certain ingredient. One of my other favorite cookbooks, at the bottom of pretty much every page, they have fun facts. So like this fun fact is about balsamic vinegar. This one is about curry. This one is about basil. And so in reading recipes and in using recipes, we can learn a lot more about the food that we eat, the origins of certain ingredients, things like that. There are also times that cookbook authors or recipe writers give you nice information about how to serve a dish. The author of this cookbook suggests at the beginning of the recipe, before we even look at the yield or the prep time, a simple green salad is a lovely accompaniment to the shepherd's pie. And so there are these little other aspects of recipes that are not always there, right? Like the 5 main things of prep and cook time, yield, ingredients, materials, and instructions, they're always in a recipe. But recipes also often have other little suggestions or little tidbits. And I know that I have learned so much about the science of cooking from reading recipes and following recipes. And so that's really another really cool aspect of recipes, is that they're not just helpful in cooking and telling us what to do, but they can teach us a lot about the food that we're cooking. I hope that you all enjoyed following along as I did a little quick walkthrough of this veggie shepherd's pie recipe. I hope everyone gets to try some new recipes sometime soon. Would love to hear what people's favorite recipes are, if there are certain things that you've learned from recipes that you want to share. I hope everybody has a great week, and I will see you all soon. Bye.